Imagine being one of the few Indigenous players in the NHL. Every time you step onto the ice, you're not just playing for yourself. You're representing your family, your community, and thousands of Indigenous youth who dream of following the same path. Hello everyone, and welcome to my podcast. Today, I'll be talking about someone who truly inspired me during this course. Ethan Bear, a Cree hockey player from the Achapaways First Nation in Saskatchewan. One of the biggest lessons I took away from this Indigenous literature course is that Indigenous history isn't only about hardship. It's also about resilience, identity, and people who continue to strengthen their communities despite generations of challenges. Ethan Bear represents all of those qualities. Although he's known as a professional hockey player, his impact reaches far beyond the rink. So, who is Ethan Bear? Ethan Bear is an NHL drafted professional hockey defenseman who plays for the New York Islanders. Hockey wasn't given for growing up in Achapaways First Nation. He was typical of many young athletes from isolated regions and being challenged by financial difficulties, the distance he had to travel, and the pressure of having to belong. One of the greatest gifts Ethan Bear shares is representation. When someone looks and acts just like you and succeeds on one of the greatest platforms in hockey, it has a meaningful message for many Indigenous children. You can achieve your dreams. Ethan is also a source of hope and confidence. He visits the community, runs youth hockey, and interviews them to inspire young Indigenous people to connect to their culture and pursue their dreams. He tells them that success is not about becoming someone you're not. He also has a gift for being tough. Throughout his career, Ethan Bear has dealt with racism, especially online. He has not retaliated with anger, but he has remained steadfast in his commitment to his culture in a manner of dignity and respect. That's what real leadership looks like. Ethan Bear's influence goes well beyond hockey. Every game he plays increases Indigenous representation in professional sports. More importantly, he helps challenge stereotypes by showing that Indigenous athletes can succeed while remaining proud of their heritage. I think he continues this work because he understands what it feels like to grow up without seeing many Indigenous role models in professional hockey. Now that he's reached that level, he wants younger generations to believe that they can do the same. His story also strongly connects to one of the biggest themes we studied in Indian Horse by Richard Wagamese. Throughout the novel, Saul struggles with losing his culture because of the residential school system. Although hockey gives him a purpose, true healing only begins when he reconnects with Indigenous identity. Ethan Bear demonstrates the same idea in real life. Instead of separating his success from his culture, he proudly carries both together. His story shows that cultural identity can be a source of strength rather than something to hide. So you may be asking, what draws me most to Ethan Bear is his humility. His success inspires Indigenous youth, upholds respect, and provides opportunities for Indigenous youth going forward. I'm really impressed by the way he deals with setbacks. Despite racism and criticism, he still has positive things to say about his culture and community. That takes courage. As we skate into the next point, Ethan Bear's story is important because it challenges stereotypes and helps people see Indigenous communities through a different perspective. For Indigenous youth, his journey shows that it's possible to achieve your dreams without losing your identity or your connection to your culture. For non-Indigenous Canadians, his story encourages greater understanding and respect. Throughout this course, we've learned that reconciliation begins by listening to Indigenous voices and learning about Indigenous experiences. Ethan Bear contributes to that conversation every single day, simply by being proud of who he is and encouraging others to do the same. As I wrap up, I just want to leave you with one final thought. When most people think about professional athletes, they think about goals, championships, or statistics. But Ethan Bear reminds us that an athlete can also be a role model, a community leader, and a symbol of cultural pride. Throughout this course, we've explored themes like identity, resilience, healing, and the lasting effects of residential schools. Ethan Bear's story reflects the same ideas in a modern way. He demonstrates that success doesn't mean leaving your culture behind. In fact, embracing your identity can become one of your greatest strengths. Thank you for listening.